Nobody was allowed in the room. Not the Jackson 5. Not James Brown's band. Not even the security guards. It was just two people. James Brown, the godfather of soul, and 11-year-old Michael Jackson. For 30 minutes, James taught Michael everything: the moves, the soul, the secrets that made him legendary. And when they walked out of that dressing room, Michael was different. Something had been passed down, something that would change music forever. It's October 1969. The Jackson 5 are performing at the Forum in Los Angeles, opening for James Brown. They're the hottest new act in Motown. 5 brothers from Gary, Indiana, who can sing, dance, and electrify a crowd. But they're still kids. Jermaine is 15. Tito is 16. Jackie is 18. Marlon is 12. And Michael, the lead singer with the impossible voice, is only 11 years old. For Michael, tonight isn't just another show. Tonight is the night he's opening for his idol, the man he studied more than anyone else in music, James Brown. The man who moves like nobody else, who commands a stage like it's his kingdom, who makes every performance look like a religious experience. Michael has been watching James Brown since he was 6 years old. His father, Joe Jackson, used to play James Brown records in their small Gary house, studying every detail of his performances. "Watch this," Joe would say, rewinding the same 10 seconds of footage over and over. "See how he moves? See how every single movement has purpose? That's not dancing. That's storytelling." Michael absorbed it all. He'd stand in front of the mirror for hours, trying to replicate James Brown's spins, his slides, his famous drop to the knees. His brothers would be outside playing, but Michael would be inside, sweating, perfecting a move he'd seen James do on the Ed Sullivan Show. So tonight, knowing that James Brown is in the same building, that they're sharing the same stage, that Michael might actually get to see him up close. It's almost too much for an 11-year-old to process. The Jackson 5 finish their set to thunderous applause. They're good, really good. The audience loves them. But as they walk off stage, dripping with sweat, Michael's brothers are talking about the show, about the crowd, about how well it went. Michael isn't listening. He's looking down the hallway toward the dressing rooms, toward the one with the star on it that says James Brown. "Don't even think about it," Jermaine says, following Michael's gaze. "Dad said not to bother him." "I'm not going to bother him," Michael says quietly. "I just want to see him." "Michael." "No," Jackie warns. James Brown doesn't mess around with starstruck kids. He's about to go on stage. Leave him alone. But Michael can't help it. While his brothers head back to their dressing room, Michael stands in that hallway, staring at that door. His hands are shaking. He knows he shouldn't do this. He knows his father will be furious if he finds out. But he has to. He has to at least try. He walks up to the door and knocks. 3 soft knocks. Nothing happens. He knocks again, a little louder. The door opens, and there he is. James Brown, wearing a shimmering purple suit, his hair perfect, his presence overwhelming. He looks down at the small boy, standing in the hallway. "Yes," James says, his voice firm, but not unkind. Michael opens his mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. He's been practicing what he'd say for years, imagining this moment. But now that it's happening, the words won't form. His eyes start to fill with tears. "You with the Jackson 5?" James asks, recognizing the kid from the performance he'd been watching on a monitor in his dressing room. Michael nods, still unable to speak. James studies the boy for a moment. He can see the tears, the shaking hands, the absolute awe on this kid's face. And something about it touches him. He's seen plenty of starstruck fans before, But this is different. This isn't just a fan. This is a student who's been studying the master. You the one who sings lead? James asks. Yes, sir, Michael finally manages to say. Michael, my name is Michael Jackson. I know who you are, James says. I watched your set. You're good. Real good. Thank you, sir, Michael says. And now the tears are really coming. I've been watching you my whole life. Everything I know about performing, I learned from you. You're my everything. James Brown has heard compliments before. He's heard praise from presidents and music legends. But hearing it from this 11-year-old kid, delivered with such pure, unfiltered emotion, it hits different. James looks down the hallway. He can hear his band warming up on stage. He's supposed to go on in 15 minutes. He has a routine, a pre-show ritual that he never breaks. But he makes a decision in that moment. Come in here, James says. Opening his dressing room door wider, Michael's eyes go huge. Really? Come on, before I change my mind. Michael practically floats into the dressing room. James closes the door behind them and locks it. Then he turns to his assistant, who's been helping him prepare for the show. Clear the room, James says. Mr. Brown, you go on in. Clear the room, James repeats firmly. The assistant leaves. Now it's just James Brown and Michael Jackson, alone in a dressing room. James walks over to the mirror and gestures for Michael to stand next to him. They look at their reflections, a 36-year-old man at the absolute peak of his powers, and an 11-year-old boy who's about to become everything. You said you learned everything from watching me, James says. Show me. Show you what? Michael asks nervously. Show me what you learned. Dance for me. Michael hesitates for just a second. Then he starts moving. He does the spin he's practiced 10,000 times. He does the slide. He attempts the drop to the knees, though he's not quite as smooth as James. James watches silently, his face unreadable. When Michael finishes, breathing hard, James nods slowly. You're good, James says, but you're copying. You know what the difference is between copying and understanding? Michael shakes his head. When you copy, you're just mimicking what you see on the outside. When you understand, you know why every movement exists. You want to know the secrets. The real secrets? Yes, sir, Michael breathes, more than anything. Then listen to me, and listen good, because I'm only going to do this once. For the next 30 minutes, James Brown gives 11-year-old Michael Jackson a masterclass that no amount of money could buy. He breaks down every move, explaining not just how to do it, but why it matters. This spin, James says, demonstrating slowly, it's not just about turning around, it's about building anticipation. You set it up with your shoulders first. Yes, you let the audience know something's coming. Then you deliver. The move isn't the point. The anticipation is the point. Michael watches, absorbing every word, every demonstration, his young mind cataloging everything. The drop to the knees, James continues. Everybody tries to copy this, but they don't understand it. It's not about showing off flexibility. It's about vulnerability. You're begging, you're pleading, you're on your knees because the emotion is so powerful that you literally can't stand. You understand. I understand, Michael says, and James can tell the kid really does understand. This isn't just some starstruck fan. This is someone who gets it. James shows him the footwork, the way he uses his whole body to communicate emotion, the importance of breath control, the reason behind every gesture. He explains how performance is like preaching. You're not just entertaining, you're testifying. You're making people feel something they didn't know they could feel. Soul isn't something you can teach, James says, but you either have it or you don't. And kid, you've got it. I can see it in you, but you've got to learn how to channel it. You've got to learn the discipline. I'll practice every day. Michael promises, I'll work harder than anyone. James looks at the kid's face, so young, so earnest, so hungry to learn, and he sees something that makes him stop. He sees himself 20 years ago, same hunger, same drive, same absolute certainty that music was everything. I believe you will, James says quietly. And you know what? You're going to be better than me. Michael's eyes go wide. No, I could never. Listen to me, James interrupts. Right now you think I'm the peak. You think nobody can do what I do better than I do it. But that's not how this works. You're supposed to take what I taught you and make it better. That's how music survives. Each generation takes the foundation and builds something new on top of it. You understand what I'm telling you? Michael nods, though he's not sure he fully grasps the weight of what James is saying. There's a knock on the door. Mr. Brown, you're on in 2 minutes, someone calls from outside. James stands up, straightens his suit. He looks at himself in the mirror, then at Michael standing next to him. One more thing, James says. Everything I just showed you. The moves, the techniques, all of it. That's just the mechanics. The real secret is this. Every single time you step on that stage, you have to believe it's the most important performance of your life. You have to give everything, every single time. You do that, and you'll be unstoppable. Thank you, Michael says. And he's crying again. Thank you so much. Don't thank me with words, James says, walking toward the door. Thank me by becoming everything you're supposed to become. James unlocks the door and walks out, heading toward the stage. Michael follows him into the hallway, watching as the Godfather of Soul strides toward the curtain, toward the roaring crowd, toward another legendary performance. Michael stands there, shaking, his mind reeling from what just happened. His brothers find him a few minutes later, still standing in that hallway. Where were you? Jermaine demands. Dad's been looking everywhere. Michael doesn't answer. He's still processing, still replaying every word, every movement, every second of those 30 minutes. That night, back at their hotel, while his brothers are watching TV, Michael is in the bathroom practicing. He's doing the spin the way James showed him, shoulders first, then the turn. He's doing the drop to the knees, trying to channel vulnerability instead of just showing off. He's working on breath control, on the way every gesture should have meaning. He practices for 3 hours straight. His brothers pound on the door, telling him to come to bed. He doesn't stop. This becomes his routine. Every single night, after every performance, Michael Jackson practices. He takes what James Brown taught him in that dressing room, and he builds on it. He adds his own style, his own innovations. But the foundation tools the understanding of performance as testimony, of movement as emotion, of the sacred responsibility to give everything every single time. That foundation came from 30 minutes with the Godfather of Soul. Years later, in 1983, when Michael Jackson performs the moonwalk on Motown 25 and becomes the biggest star in the world, one of the first calls he makes is to James Brown. You did it, James says on the phone. You became everything because you taught me how, Michael replies. No, James says. I just showed you the door. You're the one who walked through it. You're the one who took that foundation and built a palace on it. In 2006, when James Brown passes away, Michael Jackson is devastated. He releases a statement that few people understand the full meaning of. James Brown was my greatest inspiration. He taught me that performance is a sacred responsibility. Everything I am, I owe to that lesson. What Michael doesn't mention, what he never publicly revealed, is that 30-minute lesson in 1969. That moment when an 11-year-old kid knocked on a door he wasn't supposed to knock on, and the greatest performer of his generation stopped everything to pass down the secrets. Michael kept those secrets close. He honored them by becoming exactly what James Brown predicted: everything. The king of pop, the greatest entertainer the world had ever seen. A man who, just like James taught him, gave everything every single time he stepped on stage. The dressing room at the Forum, where it all happened, doesn't exist anymore. The building's been renovated, changed, modernized. But somewhere in the cosmic memory of music history, that room still exists. And in it, a 36-year-old master is teaching an 11-year-old student the secrets that would change everything. Nobody else was allowed in that room. But what happened inside it echoed through 50 years of music. Because that's what happens when greatness recognizes greatness, when a master finds a student worthy of the knowledge, when 30 minutes of teaching creates a lifetime of legend. If this story of mentorship and legacy moved you, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Share it with someone who's chasing their dreams, someone who needs to understand that greatness is taught, learned, and passed down through sacred moments we never forget. What lesson changed your life? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to hit that notification bell for more incredible true stories about the moments that created legends.